I hate the phrase, but it's very, very corny, and I think there is some truth to it. You don't want to be the richest person in the graveyard. It's just doesn't matter what you've accumulated if you don't have your health. A lot of parents that have accumulated some nice net worth have said, I'd rather see my kids enjoy it than to enjoy it when I'm gone.
When we look at that retirement age, do you see a lot of complacent folks? Or if you do see someone battling complacency, how do we get out of that?
Unfortunately, I would say the majority of people are complacent. They've been on this grind for so many years. The resources are tight. It isn't until typically the kids or part of the kids have left the house, then that's when we see typically in their 50s where they're maxing out their 401ks or 403bs or whatever it might be.
But what do you think it's going to be like when 20-year-olds are 80? They barely watch TV. They're on their phones.
Welcome back to another edition of Retire and Thrive podcast, where we help you live your life with purpose, wealth, and confidence.
That's right. I'm Kamie. This is Dan. Thanks for joining us this week. We hope you had a great Thanksgiving. Today we are focused on winning the fight in retirement. We're not talking about winning the fight at the Thanksgiving table. Hope that didn't happen for you at all.
No, we were good.
Okay.
Everybody was happy.
And I'm sure you would win the fight if there was a bit of a debacle at the Thanksgiving table. But we are focused on retirement. And maybe this is a time where you have a few days where you can sit and relax and think about your future. By the way, how are you?
Everything's good.
Good.
I feel like I say that every time, but it is. Everything's
That's
good.
good.
Yeah.
That's good. So, Dan, we are focused on winning the fight. What does that mean when we're headed into retirement?
Yeah, I think winning the fight for me when it comes to retirement is trying to accomplish all the things that you've wanted to accomplish to make sure that you're comfortable in retirement, whether that's your financial picture, whether that's tidying up all of the potential health issues, whether it's health insurance, and depending on when you're retiring, maybe it's some Medicare supplement policies. I mean, that to me is kind of winning the fight, is like being able to take a deep breath and say, I've arrived. Mm-hmm. I've made it.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of folks you work with, some of your clients, they're probably looking to this time of year when they want to buy Christmas presents for grandkids or loved ones. And some folks maybe don't really need to budget for that, but some might be thinking about some of those bigger trips that we've mentioned in other podcasts. How do you work with folks to help them feel comfortable in doing that this time of year?
Yeah, I mean, this is notoriously a very expensive time of year, and it's maybe a little bit different for different people. I think retirees, they go through that accumulation phase and, they've built up the nest egg, and now it's our job to help them on distribution strategies. But I think about younger families, and I think about back, 30 years ago when my kids were younger, or 20 years ago, I should say, and it was a strain. So you're right. I mean, it's not just the Thanksgiving, but it's the traveling and it's the Christmas gifts and it's all of that rolls into that.
And it's looking at your Tupperware and seeing if you have enough money in each bucket.
Good memory, Kamie. That's a great call. So the thing that we do notice, though, is when it comes to this time of year where Thanksgiving rolls around and we start thinking about families and traditions and things like that, most of our clients have children that are not only adult children, but possibly grandchildren. And it's just funny how things kind of shift and they reverse, because a lot of clients of ours that are grandparents, I would never call anybody out on this, but they definitely want to spoil their grandchildren. And so, yeah, there is, we'll get the phone call that says, you know what, we're going to take $10,000 out of our account because we want to buy gifts. Or more importantly, we just had a client in last week. She took her 3 daughters and spouses and I think 8 grandchildren, and they went down to Disney. And so it was a big number. And I think oftentimes when we enter into Thanksgiving, things, we reflect on things that we're thankful for. And that kind of triggers some things. And then Christmas, oftentimes we find too that if they're going to gift money to family members, be it their own kids or grandchildren, Christmas time tends to be the time that we're going to gift away. So yeah, you're right.
Yeah, you're not prepared for this question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. I mean, you're always prepared,
which you're always good at that.
I do that quite often. When we look at giving money, how do you advise your clients if they want to give their grandkid, maybe each grandkid, $500 in a check form? Or what if they want to instead do the present being a gift to Disney or things like that? Do you advise one way or another and how they give out the money? Is there benefits one way or another?
You're right. I wasn't prepared for that question, which is fine.
But you know answers. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I
are
do.
there financial benefits, tax benefits, one way or another?
Yep. There really is no tax benefits. I mean, let's just talk about the law, first of all. Any person, including you and myself, your parents, anybody can give away up to $19,000 to any one individual with no gift tax.
Okay.
So if your mom or dad had $19,000 and they wanted to give it to you, they wanted to give it to and your sister and your two brothers and so forth, there is no tax consequence for them doing that. Now, they don't get a deduction for it,
Sure.
but in essence, they're transferring money from themselves to you. I wasn't necessarily prepared to go into this discussion.
That's actually what I was interested in. That part right there is information enough just for my knowledge and maybe for others who didn't know that.
But I do want to say this because I think it may be fitting this time of year. And actually, that's one of the things I do appreciate about you is you do come up with these questions that I have no idea. But it's very timely because this is the time of year where people start thinking about these things. So, yes, any individual can give $19,000 to any person that they want to. So if you've got 3 other siblings, there's a total of 4 of you. Your mom can give each one of you $19,000, and your dad can give each one of you $19,000.
Okay.
So combined, each child could get $38,000. And if it's important, and if their kid is married, they can give it to their spouses if they so choose. So
Sure.
the main reason to gift money is to reduce the overall value of what we call the estate, all of the assets combined. And what they're trying to do is reduce or eliminate estate tax.
Sure.
This episode is not about estate tax and the limits and everything else. In the state of Minnesota, we do have an estate tax. Most states do not. But then there's also, you have to have quite a large net worth to get into the federal estate tax. But at the end of the day, the gifting is really about reducing the estate.
Sure.
Now, I never did answer your question. Is it better to give a check for $500 or take them to Disney? There is no benefit tax-wise. The benefit is what's important to you.
Right.
Because we see both, quite frankly. You know what? My granddaughter really needs money for tuition or books, so I'm going to give her $1,000. Other people say, I'm more interested in experiencing things with my children and or grandchildren. So one is, I want to help you out, and the other is, I want to have an experience with you.
Yeah.
And so there's not really a right or wrong answer. There's no benefit tax-wise, and there's no reason you couldn't do both for that matter too. But generally speaking, the biggest benefit of gifting money is to reduce the overall estate.
Yeah.
And I want to just say one last thing, Kamie. I know you were going to start talking about something else, but it just popped into my head. What we are finding, and I don't know if I can lump this into a COVID situation or not, but what we find is a lot of parents that have accumulated some nice net worth have said, and I probably heard it more in the last 5 years than I did the previous 20 years, and that is, I'd rather see my kids enjoy it than to enjoy it when I'm gone.
Yeah.
And I think about that, and I literally get goosebumps thinking about that because, you know, my kids are 30, 28, and 25, but generally speaking, we're talking about kids sometimes that are in their 30s and 40s, and their parents might be in their 60s and 70s, so maybe a decade older than I am. But it becomes sentimental to them, and it's like, I don't want to leave my kids a bunch of money when I just as soon see them enjoy it. I'd like to see them trade in that ratty old van and drive something that's something reliable or whatever it might be. But I just wanted to mention that.
That's interesting, though, that you've been hearing more of that. A bit of a shift in a mindset across the board for folks, it seems. Because, I mean, I work in the news industry, so I hear a lot of times of, oh, so-and-so passed away and she left $20 million to the University of Minnesota because she had that money and, you know, now she's gone. And we've read a lot of those stories in past years, but maybe a little bit of a shift for folks.
I think it's a big shift. And, you know, your parents are very similar to my age, but it's my parents' age that was completely different, which would be basically your grandparents' age. Like my mom and dad never talked about finances. That was like taboo. You don't talk about finances. Don't ever tell anybody what kind of income you make, net worth. Don't tell them what you paid for the house.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying people are completely open, but it's not uncommon for me to be on an airplane and next thing you know, within 10 minutes, somebody's telling me how much money they make and what they do. I'm like, wow. But it has shifted where now I think that generation that's in their 60s and 70s, they're maybe a little bit more eager to help out the kids and grandkids. So it is a little bit of a shift.
Yeah.
Great
very
question.
interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
I like to blindside you.
Yeah.
But hey, you always have an answer. And look, I learned a lot there. Let's talk about retirement and complacency in it. This could apply to anyone that is of any age. But when we look at that retirement age, do you see a lot of complacent folks? Or if you do see someone battling complacency, how do we get out of that?
Unfortunately, I would say the majority of people are complacent. And I think what can happen is they've been on this grind for so many years. And I know I talked about this early on. And this is just my opinion on what I've seen happen over all the years, is that when people, and I talk about it in the book, when people graduate, be it high school, college, and they get their job, and then they settle down and maybe get married and have some kids, the resources are tight. And so it isn't until typically the kids or part of the kids have left the house, then that's when we see typically in their 50s where they're maxing out their 401ks or 403bs or whatever it might be. And they just save, and then they get to a certain age where they're ready to retire, be it 62, 65 or whatever, and they've done a great job at accumulating, but they've never been able to spend it, or they've never known how to spend it is probably a better phrase.
Right.
And so it becomes a challenge, and we help people encouraging them to spend, and we do that through all these plans and everything else. But once people feel like they've made it, I think that's where this word complacency comes in. And it's like, I've kind of done everything, Kamie. I don't really have to push myself anymore. I don't have to get up at 6 a.m. and, get ready for work and grind at work. And so it's almost like what I've witnessed is when people do retire, it's kind of like they're just taking a deep breath and they're like, finally, I can catch my breath and do the things I want to do. And, TV becomes a bigger and bigger part of their daily routine.
Yeah.
And so one of the phrases I've used, and I've lived this way myself personally, and this comes from, I won't take credit for it, it's Dan Sullivan from Strategic Coach, which is a coaching program that I've been part of for 8 years. I go to Chicago every quarter for this. But his phrase is, and when you really think about this quote, it makes so much sense, especially for people that are retired. And that phrase is, always make your future bigger than your past. So no matter what you do, like at your young age, you have this future you're looking out 5 years from now, 10 years from now. And I'm assuming that future looks bigger than it is in 2025. I don't know what that is, and maybe you haven't articulated it all. But what happens is when you're 65 years old, that was your identity.
Right.
That's who you were.
Right.
And you mentioned it last episode. You maybe were a big deal when you worked, and guess what? Now you might be part-time babysitter to your grandson. I mean, I don't know. And you don't have the level of respect that you did with your peers or colleagues or whatever it might be. And that's what we try to encourage people is, I don't care what age you are, if you're 75 years old or if you're 65 years old or if you're 35 years old, figure out what that bigger future looks like and dial into that, lean into that, whatever that might look like.
Yeah, that's so important because really, ultimately, your present and your future, it's all we have. We have memories, but we have our now. What daily habits do you encourage people to look into or to try to avoid the complacency, but also look to their future and make that future brighter?
I think you need to break it up into a few categories. And I think, again, we touched briefly on it last time and a little bit here, but health to me is the number one thing. If you've met with an advisor and you feel comfortable that your finances are dialed in and you've got the plan and everything, that's wonderful. But then to me, it's health because, I hate the phrase, but it's very, very corny, and I think there is some truth to it. You don't want to be the richest person in the graveyard. It's just doesn't matter what you've accumulated if you don't have your health. And so I think first and foremost, dedicate time to health. And again, I keep referring to structure, whether that's joining a fitness club and going there every morning at 7 o'clock when you're retired. Who knows, maybe that's where you meet a lot of good connections. But I think health is definitely important. Touched on the TED Talk with the Harvard study, relationships are huge.
Yeah.
I didn't even know this until a month ago. There's actual So online sites where you can connect and meet people, like dating sites, but it's just friends,
yeah.
which I never knew existed.
Yeah.
And I'd met someone the other day that was telling me about this, and they have like 4 or 5 friends that they had met on one of these sites.
Yes.
And what was interesting is from the 4 or 5 people that they met with from this site, that's now ballooned out into like 15 because they knew 3 or
Sure.
4 people. And so the relationships, I think, again, it's about being intentional. I mean, it's easy not to do it. Just say, no, I'm just going to hang out with my high school friends, or,
Right.
periodically I get together once a month with my former coworkers and we have a cup of coffee. But it's about being intentional. So daily routine, I would say health is definitely, it's got to be up there.
Sure.
I think relationships has to be up there. And then discovering what your why is, what your purpose is. And I know it seems so corny when we talk about find something that's inspiring, whether it's a cooking or gourmet cooking classes or traveling and hiking, whatever's important. But it's almost like you need to give yourself permission to say, you know what, it's okay. Just try it.
Yeah.
Nothing bad can happen. You might embarrass yourself if you're not, the best at, mountain biking or hiking or whatever it might be. But this is the time, and I've said it before, and I'm going to just say it very bluntly here. When people approach retirement, everybody has come through different situations. Some people have had multiple jobs. Some people have gone through real challenges. Maybe it's family difficulties, health, all these things. But when you retire, in my opinion, this is the time where you literally can be as selfish as you want to be. And I hate to say you deserve it, but when you're retired, you do deserve it. You've paid your dues.
Yeah. And it does not matter what other people think.
Exactly.
At all. It really doesn't. And we do live in such a we're very fortunate in 2025 heading into 2026. We have the technology. We have fun ways to exercise.
Yeah.
If you think of, physical health and exercising as something that's not enjoyable, there are so many options out there. You can turn on YouTube and find any exercise you can do, or there's multiple fitness clubs where you can do more than just lift weights and walk around.
Right.
There's pickleball. That is so popular. Do you play pickleball?
I played it a couple times, and I haven't entered.
Are you too competitive for it, or what?
No. I haven't entered the arena where I would call myself a pickleball player. I've just played it a couple of times.
Sure. But it is so popular, and it's fun, and it's a way to connect with people and get that physical aspect out of the way as well.
Okay. Are you saying you do play pickleball?
No, I don't, but I like pickleball.
Okay.
But I just don't. I should. It should be my off season from golf, pickleball, because there's some indoor places in town. You can play pickleball.
I feel like we touched on this many, many episodes ago, but cultish isn't the right word, but there's many, many memes about people in pickleball.
Oh, it is
that
kind
like,
of cultish.
Like we have a gal, this is our studio. We built this out 6 months ago. We hired an interior designer. She is off the charts, unbelievable at what she does. Unbelievable.
Oh,
no, design.
Interior design, yes, she is.
And so I find out she does pickleball. And she's like my age, late 50s. And I said, oh, so you do pickleball? And she's like, love it. Oh, my gosh, I love it. And I'm like, so how often? And she says 4, sometimes 5 days. She does pickleball with her girlfriends. Her and her husband do with other couples. And she literally said, my mood changes. Like if we have a match lined up and somebody doesn't show up and we can't play, I'm kind of grumpy. So again, I don't want to say it's cultish. It changes people.
Yeah.
It's such a, and I'm just speaking vicariously through the people I talk to, but pickleball is such a movement, and it's just, I've never seen anything like it.
Yeah.
It is so incredible. And I think of the positive impact it's had on people like my age that maybe weren't as active. It's a beautiful thing, even though I don't play it.
Yeah, and it's something where you don't need to be good at pickleball. They're pretty inviting.
Very.
There's some stricter people that know the rules. As long as you know the rules,
Right,
you can
right.
be in the club.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I've noticed. You mentioned something when we were talking a few minutes ago about TV becoming an important role for people. This is just an opinion that I thought of. What do you think it's going to be like when 20-year-olds are 80? They barely watch TV. They're on their phones. Technology is going to change this world. I mean, it already is. Like, I was just thinking of that. I'm like, yeah, people watch TV now, but like 20-year-olds when they retire, who knows?
So I don't know if you were asking me the question there.
I just was thinking, sure, yeah, what are your thoughts?
Because I'm going to do a 180. I can't even envision 20-year-olds. I mean, you're a long ways away from 20, but you're closer to the 20 than I am. So I'm going to reverse the question. What do you think 20-year-olds will be doing at 80?
I don't think we know because I think technology will be so advanced. Yeah. Because right now, 20-year-olds are on your TikTok and your Instagram and probably other apps that I've never heard of. Discord. I don't know what the future is going to look like with them because I think TV's definitely shifting to your phone.
And interestingly enough, that's your livelihood
My
right
career,
now. That is your career.
But I can shift to podcasting on YouTube.
I am going to make
anything else.
I'm going to make one comment that I found interesting. My son brought this to my attention. We talked a month ago. I mean, we've talked many, many times, but a month ago he brought this to my attention. He said, how many books have you sold? So the Retire and Thrive book, labor of love, hundreds and hundreds of hours into this thing. Mm-hmm. And I don't remember the number I told him, 100, 200 books or whatever. And when we did this podcast, we were on episode, I don't even know, Kamie, 10 or 12 or whatever it might be. And he said, how many subscribers do you have on your podcast? And I said, couple thousand maybe. And he said, isn't that interesting? How much time do you suppose you've spent on the podcast? Right. And I said, well, Kamie and I come in every week and, we spend half an hour kind of talking about what we're going to do and half an hour shoot, so maybe an hour a week. And he said, so you're telling me you got 12 hours wrapped into these podcasts and you've got hundreds of hours in the book and your impact on people on the podcast is 500 times greater in terms of your broad reach. And I'm like, wow, I never thought of it from that perspective. But he's right. I mean,
he's totally right.
The digital side of things, I mean, people like to view things more than they necessarily like to read. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if it's a generational thing, but I think it's the ease of use. And
it's the attention spans.
Yeah. So I'm just going to kind of go back to you and say, we could probably do a series on podcasts on AI. You talk about technology and how technology is evolving. Mm-hmm. And today's not that episode because we're kind of wrapping up this book. And so we're wrapping up this whole thing about retirement and living that life of purpose since this is kind of the final episode. But what I have found with AI, because I've embraced it and I've used it a lot. Mm-hmm. And as a firm, we've started to use it more and more also. But I am curious because I find people are in one of two camps. They're either deathly afraid of it or they embrace it. Or maybe the third camp is they bury their head and say, yeah, whatever. What's your take on it?
I'm the third, whatever. I mean, I've used it. I've looked into it a little bit, but I'm not like, I know you're like, I have a party coming up. I'm going to use AI to plan it. I don't necessarily think that way, but because of you, I do now. Because I'm like, I could just look into, or if I want to if I want to take a flight somewhere, I'll type into AI, hey, out of Minneapolis on this date, what are your cheapest flights to wherever? Or if I don't have a destination in mind, I just want to go somewhere warm. Yeah. That's an option. So I don't really utilize it in a business side of things because I feel ethically not fully if I'm on board with it because I would like the news to be generated from what I've received, from law enforcement, whatever. Yeah. But it's I'm kind of just like whatever at this point.
I think there are so many applications and it's so broad, but I've used it before literally where I've said, you know what, I'm going to go this week on a little bit more of a keto type diet or consumption. And I literally can go into AI and say, create 7 meals for me, just lunches. I want no more than 70 grams of carbs and exclude tomatoes or whatever and create basically a meal plan for me. It'll generate a meal plan. And then I will say, give me the specific recipes tied to each one. And Kamie, we're talking 2 to 3 minutes and it's done.
I know.
And so there are some things, and I think that falls more into the lifestyle category.
Yes.
And I'll just say this to the audience. I mean, this is not where I thought this conversation was going to go, but if this was a topic of interest, we could do a very brief 2 to 3 series on how to use AI to maybe enhance your life.
Because it can help with your complacency, or if you don't know how to get started with your physical fitness or your mental health.
Exactly.
It can help in so many ways. And that is where the not being scared comes into play because it can be terrifying, but it's quite simple. someone over here is utilizing it a bunch. So it is quite simple in some regard. If you're just on the surface level using it, trying it out, it's really not that difficult. And it could be something that could benefit our viewers, anyone in retirement, anyone of any age, but especially if you're in retirement and looking at that big picture and that future and thinking, well, how can I make some changes in my life? Well, your friend AI might be able to help you.
Yep. And again, if you comment on the on this podcast that you want us to pursue that, again, I would just make the comment that this was not even intended to talk about AI on this podcast, but you won't wreck it. And that's the biggest hurdle is people are like, I don't want to type in the wrong thing and say the wrong thing. It's your tool. You can use it how you want to. Yeah. But if we get enough interest, we should do a 2 to 3 part series on creating. Really what you just said is so spot on. It can create an entire fitness thing. I just tell it how old I am, what I'm trying to accomplish, and it'll design a plan for us.
And if it doesn't work for you, you just say, well, that doesn't really work for me. Let's try something else. Yeah. It will help you with that too. Yep. Anything else? We are wrapping up here with our series on the book. We've covered a lot here. This is episode 24. Right after Thanksgiving, we wrapped up here, and we're headed into a whole nother realm. We don't fully know where we want to go. Let us know if you have anything that you'd really like us to touch on. If there's something that's really top of mind for you that you're worried about, or that maybe you need a few more pieces of information on, we can touch on it.
I don't know if we'll go this route. We'll talk about it maybe later today or sometime this week before we air our next episode. But this is our last episode as it pertains to the book. Part of me feels like it might be fun to just do a very short, maybe 3 episodes, kind of recapping everything. Yeah. Because we may have viewers that tuned into episode 15 and they didn't tune into anything for another 6 or 7 episodes. Right. And we could maybe do like a 3-part series that would just kind of recap all of these 24 episodes we've done. So that's an option.
Yeah, that's a good idea too. And to recap some of the points that we could tell that people were fully interested in. I know Social Security was a big one. We talked on it quite a bit, but people have a lot of interest in that because I think there is a fair amount of confusion out there when it does come to grabbing those benefits and when you should do so. Anything else that you'd like to touch on, Dan, when it comes to, finding your why or your purpose as you do head into retirement?
I think the last thing I would say to the viewers, specifically those that are retiring, is that I wouldn't view retirement as a chapter that's ending. It's really about the beginning. It's all about the new. And this is the stage where you really can embrace life, give yourself permission to step outside that comfort zone, do the things that maybe you weren't quite as comfortable doing, and regardless of what that might look like. But this is not the end. I would view it literally as this is the beginning. Yeah. This is what you have worked for, so embrace it. Yeah. Every day is a new beginning to the start of your future. And if you are concerned or stressed out about something when it comes to retirement, don't be scared to ask questions to someone. Reach out because there are always people out there to help you, whether it's a physical person or if it's AI generated. It can assist as well. Thank you so much for joining us. We hope that you had a great Thanksgiving and you're not spending too much time decorating for Christmas and shopping here on this Black Friday. That's something that's changed as well. Black Friday is not at all what it used to be. It is online. It is a few months in advance, weeks in advance. But we're definitely seeing some changes when it comes to really everything in this world. But we appreciate you joining us. Subscribe. Click the subscribe. You can follow us wherever you get your podcasts. We appreciate you listening and joining along with us on this journey. And we will be back next week with a new episode. Have a great day.
Fortress Financial Group LLC is a registered investment advisor. Advisory services are only offered to clients or prospective clients where Fortress and its representatives are properly licensed or exempt for licensure. The opinions voiced in this material are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. All indexes are unmanaged and may not be invested into directly. Investing involves risk, including loss of principal.